Disney promised you a love story where a mermaid gets her happy ending. But Hans Christian Andersen's 1837 original reveals a horrifying truth. Ariel should have dissolved into sea foam. While Disney shows Ariel painlessly trading her voice for legs, the original mermaid endured knives stabbing her feet with every step. And that's just the beginning of Disney's lies. The sea witch didn't just take the mermaid's voice, she sliced out her tongue with a knife in a blood ritual. Where Disney gave us a romantic wedding, Andersen wrote the prince callously marrying another woman, leaving the mermaid to face spiritual annihilation at dawn. This wasn't a children's story. It was a brutal warning about the dangers of sacrificing your identity for love, written by a heartbroken Andersen after his own failed romance. Disney removed all the blood, betrayal and body horror that made the original so powerful. Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid in 1837 Copenhagen, a port city where sailors' tales of deadly sirens were common. Unlike Disney's tropical setting, Andersen's cold Nordic seas reflected his own loneliness. He wrote it after being rejected by both men and women he loved. Mermaid folklore at the time served as warnings. Scottish selkies lost their magic skins to abusive husbands, while Germanic lore told of mermaids dragging unfaithful lovers to watery graves. Andersen transformed these dark traditions into an autobiographical parable. The original story's violence came from real maritime superstitions. Sailors believed seeing a mermaid meant certain death, and many reported creatures with bleeding feet from trying to walk on land. Andersen specifically based the sea witch on feared Baltic sea hags from Danish folklore, ancient tales told of witches who demanded blood sacrifices for magic. The original story's darkness wasn't accidental, it was carefully crafted from real folk warnings about the ocean's dangers and the perils of abandoning one's nature. Andersen's original tale begins with violence. The sea witch doesn't just take the mermaid's voice, she cuts out the Little Mermaid's tongue with a sharp knife, while the mermaid moans pitifully. The leg transformation isn't magic, it's torture. Every step felt as if she were treading upon sharp knives. Disney erased the constant blood, with Andersen describing how blood must flow from her feet. The prince isn't charmed, he treats her like a pet, calling her his dumb foundling, while sleeping beside her more and more often without marriage. The climax is pure horror. When the prince marries another, the mermaid sisters trade their hair to the witch for a dagger, telling her to plunge it into the prince's heart so his blood can save her. In a devastating act of love, she refuses and throws herself into the sea to dissolve into foam, but the horror continues. Instead of death, she becomes an airy spirit, doomed to 300 years of service collecting human tears before possibly earning a soul. Every element Disney changed. The voice loss, the walking, the ending, was originally more traumatic. Even the happy elements are disturbing. The mermaid only smiles while dancing because her feet bled but she didn't feel it, in her dissociative agony. Andersen's tale was a gothic masterpiece of body horror and spiritual despair that Disney completely inverted. Andersen modeled the mermaid's suffering on two real tragedies. First, his unrequited love for Edvard Collin, who wrote, "I cannot return your love" in a letter Andersen kept his whole life. Second, the agony of 19th century tongue-tied women. Surgeons really did cut tongues to cure speech impediments. The Sea Witch's Cave resembles Baltic troll churches, where folk healers performed bloody rituals. The prince mirrors real-life Prince Frederick of Denmark, who broke hearts across Copenhagen. Most horrifically, the mermaid's dissolution may reference white deaths, sailors' term for drowned women whose bodies dissolved faster in cold northern waters. Disney erased these historical roots. The original witch's potion contained drops of her own blood, like medieval folk magic, and the mermaid's contract is signed in blood, not a cheerful song. Real 19th century mermaid hoaxes used stitched-together animal parts. Andersen's visceral descriptions came from seeing these grotesque exhibits. Even the 300 years of service reflects real Baltic folklore about spirits working off sins. Every disturbing detail Disney removed was grounded in historical practices and Andersen's traumatic lived experiences. Disney's 1989 sanitization followed strict corporate mandates. Early storyboards showed Ursula collecting the voice more violently, but Jeffrey Katzenberg ordered changes to avoid a PG-13 rating. Memos revealed debates over keeping the original ending. One writer suggested Ariel walking painfully but was overruled for being too sad. The biggest cover-up? Andersen's tale was specifically about queer-coded suffering. Disney erased all same-sex subtext while marketing Ariel as heterosexual fantasy. They invented Sebastian and Scuttle to add comic relief where Andersen had only despair. The contract signing became a musical number instead of a blood ritual. Most egregiously, Disney changed the central message. Where Andersen warned against sacrificing identity, Disney promoted changing yourself for love. Archive documents show the ending was rewritten 12 times to eliminate any hint of tragedy. Voice actress Jodie Benson confirmed directors told her to make Ariel never sound in pain during transformation scenes. Disney even added the magical wedding Andersen deliberately avoided. His ending condemned the very notion that love requires self-destruction. The sanitization wasn't accidental, it was systematic removal of everything challenging or thought-provoking from Andersen's masterpiece. Disney's version so dominated culture that most people don't know the original exists. Before 1989, illustrated Andersen collections showed the mermaid's bloody feet. Now even complete fairy tale books use Disney's imagery. The sanitization changed mermaid mythology globally. Ancient cultures saw them as dangerous, but post-Disney, they became cute. Most damagingly, we lost Andersen's warning about toxic sacrifice. Where he showed love shouldn't require losing your voice or suffering abuse, Disney romanticized it. The original was feminist for its time. The mermaid chooses her own fate, while Disney's Ariel needs a man's approval. Modern mermaid syndrome, girls wanting to be aquatic creatures, stems from Disney's fantasy, not Andersen's caution. Even marine biology suffered. Where folklore once warned against ocean dangers, Disney made sea life seem harmless. The most insidious impact? Generations now believe love means changing everything about yourself, the exact opposite of Andersen's message. His tale survived 150 years as warning. Disney turned it into dangerous fantasy in just 30. Andersen's warnings are more relevant than ever. The mermaid's silenced voice mirrors modern victims of abusive relationships. 1 in 4 women experience violence from partners. Her dissolving identity reflects LGBTQ+ youth suicide rates, still highest among those rejected by families. The bloody feet parallel self-harm. Like the mermaid, many hide pain behind smiles. Even the spiritual servitude resonates with burnout culture's endless emotional labor. Disney's version taught generations to romanticize suffering for love. The original showed its devastating cost. Modern mermaid media like The Shape of Water restores some darkness, but Disney's sanitized version remains dominant. The prince's betrayal warns against investing everything in someone who sees you as temporary, a lesson needed in our swipe-right dating culture. Most tragically, where Andersen offered hope through the mermaid's self-sacrificial compassion, Disney replaced it with shallow, romantic conquest. The original tale's darkness wasn't gratuitous, it showed real consequences Disney's fantasy avoids. In an era of curated social media lives, we need Andersen's brutal honesty about love's costs more than ever. The real Little Mermaid wasn't about getting a man, it was about keeping your soul. Andersen's ending is devastating because it's honest. Sometimes love destroys you, and the prince doesn't notice. Disney lied because reality is hard, but the original's power came from that truth. Next time you watch Ariel, remember, her real story ends in foam, not flowers, with blood, not ball gowns. The mermaid statue in Copenhagen shows her gazing mournfully at land, not celebrating, but grieving what she lost. That's the true legacy, a warning carved in bronze about the cost of abandoning yourself. Andersen didn't write a fairy tale. He wrote a funeral for the parts of ourselves we sacrifice for love. And that's a story we still desperately need to hear.